So if you're even thinking about building or upgrading a PC anytime soon, you're going to want to stop and watch this. For the next few years, PC building is about to get more expensive than it has ever been. And look, the reason has nothing to do with crypto miners or tangled supply chains. This is something entirely new. So what's actually going on here? Let's break it all down.
Okay, let's just get right to it. Since the middle of 2025, the price of the RAM you put in your computer has just exploded. We're talking up to 400%. Now, this isn't some small price bump, right? This is a vertical price shock that is rewriting the rules of PC building in real time. And to really put that into perspective, let's see what it means for someone like you.
And this is where it really hits home. A standard, super popular Corsair Vengeance DDR5 kit, you know, the kind of thing thousands of us would buy, went from under $90 in late 2024 to over $400 just a year later. Think about that. Some 32GB kits now cost more than an entire PlayStation 5. Just let that sink in for a second.
And hey, this isn't just builders on Reddit who are noticing the change. This quote is from the chief operating officer at Dell, a guy who has seen decades of booms and busts in the tech industry. When a seasoned exec says something is unprecedented, you just know we're in completely uncharted territory. So, what is causing all this chaos?
Well, the culprit is artificial intelligence. Specifically, it's the massive, just insatiable demand for a very particular type of memory that powers the whole AI revolution. You gotta understand, every single wafer of silicon that's used for AI is a wafer that can't be used for your gaming PC. And right now, AI is winning that fight, hands down. The memory at the heart of this whole crisis is called high bandwidth memory, or HBM. It's this ultra-fast, super specialized RAM that's stacked right next to the processor on those big AI chips from companies like NVIDIA. It is literally what makes ChatGPT, Midjourney, and all those other AI tools actually work. But producing it creates a huge problem for the rest of us.
And this slide right here really shows you the core of the problem. You see, HBM is a manufacturing nightmare compared to the standard DDR5 we use. For every single gigabyte of memory they make, HBM uses about 3 times the silicon. The chips are bigger, they take up to 2 months longer to actually produce, and a much higher percentage of them just fail. They don't work. So you're using more resources, taking more time, and getting fewer working chips. It is a perfect storm of inefficiency that just devours the world's silicon supply.
And this demand for that inefficient memory, it's growing exponentially. I mean, just look at NVIDIA's roadmap. We went from 80 gigabytes per chip back in 2020 to a planned, get this, 1 terabyte of HBM on a single future chip. That's insane. Each generation pretty much doubles the memory, and the AI models immediately expand to consume every last byte. There is absolutely no end in sight for this demand.
To understand the sheer scale of AI's appetite for this stuff, just look at this chart. A single project, OpenAI's Stargate supercomputer deal with Microsoft, is projected to consume between 35% and 40% of the entire planet's memory production capacity. One project. When these AI giants can just absorb nearly half the world's supply, there's just not much left for everybody else.
Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Come on, we've seen RAM shortages before, they always end. And I get that, but I need to be crystal clear here. This time is fundamentally different. This isn't just another temporary hiccup, it is a structural reallocation of the world's most valuable manufacturing resources.
Remember that 2017 crisis? That was driven by you, the consumer, wanting more smartphones and PCs. But this crisis? This is all driven by massive AI data centers. In the past, you were the customer. Today, you're basically the afterthought, just getting whatever silicon is left over. And while those old shortages lasted about 2 years, analysts are expecting this one to go on for 3, 4, maybe even more years.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This is straight from IDC, one of the most respected market research firms in tech. They're not calling it a shortage, they're calling it a permanent strategic reallocation. And you know what that is, right? That's just corporate speak for get used to it. This isn't going back to the way it was.
And this reallocation? It's already happening. Micron is literally shutting down its super well-known consumer brand, Crucial, just to focus on its AI customers. SK Hynix turned an entire factory that used to make consumer RAM into an HBM-only plant. They're not planning to go back. They are actively abandoning the consumer market.
And it all comes down to one thing. Money. Of course it does.
Memory makers are now seeing gross margins of 63 to 67% on HBM. That is a higher profit margin than TSMC, the most advanced and profitable chipmaker on Earth. So you have to ask yourself, why would they ever go back to making low-margin consumer RAM when they can make that kind of profit serving the AI industry? The answer is, they won't.
So this all leads to a new reality, a new hierarchy in the world of technology. The priority customer for the world's silicon has changed, and, well, it's not you anymore.
Here's the new reality of the situation, plain and simple. When you go to buy a single 32GB kit of RAM, you are now in a global bidding war against companies like Microsoft and Google, companies that are buying millions of chips at a time and are willing to pay pretty much any price. It's a war you and I simply cannot win. And I know what you're thinking. Well, can't we just build more factories? And the idea that we can just build our way out of this is unfortunately a complete myth. The new multi-billion-dollar fabrication plants being built, they're already allocated. They're being built specifically to produce that high-margin HBM for AI customers, not the DDR5 that goes in your PC.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's big, it's structural, and it is not going away anytime soon. But that does not mean you're helpless. So let's talk about what you can actually do to get through this mess. This is the big question, right? If you absolutely need a computer now, how can you be smart about it? How can you avoid paying these completely astronomical prices?
All right, here are 5 practical strategies. First, seriously, don't sleep on DDR4. An AMD AM4 system is still incredibly capable for gaming, and DDR4 memory is so much cheaper. Second, for the first time in years, pre-built systems from companies like Dell or HP might actually be the cheaper option since they buy memory on long-term contracts. Third, buy a smaller kit now, maybe 32 gigs, with a plan to add more down the road. Fourth, watch out for shrinkflation, laptops and PCs being sold with less RAM for the same old price. And finally, check out the used market for complete systems. It hasn't fully caught up to these crazy new prices yet.
This whole crisis is fundamentally changing how we budget for a PC. I mean, for decades, RAM was a cheap afterthought, right? You just pick some up. Now it can easily be the most expensive part of your build, costing more than even a high-end graphics card or CPU. This is a truly historic shift.
Which of course brings us to our final, lingering question. With the AI boom showing zero signs of slowing down, and with manufacturers permanently shifting their priorities, is this really just a temporary crisis, or have we actually entered a new era where high-priced memory is simply the new normal? That's the reality we may all need to start preparing for.